It was early morning when the courthouse doors thundered open, an abrupt, echoing pulsation that sent a hush rolling through the marble foyer. Two uniformed officers appeared, holding their posture with quiet authority, their gazes unwavering. Behind them followed a woman in stark contrast. Her perfectly coiffed blonde hair was now a tangled mess, her designer blazer rumpled, one sleeve dangling awkwardly as if she'd fought to free herself. Her expression was a volatile mix of furious indignation and utter disbelief. This was Karen Mitchell, the once untouchable HOA president of Willowbrook Estates, being led away in handcuffs. Right there on the courthouse steps, in full view of neighbors who'd gathered in shock. Phone cameras flashed like distant lightning. The spectacle, surreal. Moments before, Karen had shouted a single biting refrain over and over, "You don't understand, this is all a misunderstanding. I'm important. You can't do this to me." But the law doesn't bend for importance or entitlement, especially not when the offense is as grave as perjury. For years, Karen had thrived on petty power plays, terrorizing homeowners over stray blades of grass, mailbox colors, garden types. But today the law reminded her, her reign of tyranny didn't put her above justice. Rewind a mere 6 months. My business, Green Haven Landscaping, was flourishing. Entirely eco-friendly from soil to bloom, I poured my heart into creating native gardens, sustainable lawns. I'd spent years working for others, under corporate policies that crushed creativity, until I finally defied complacency and stepped out on my own. The first clients were exhilarated. Native plant borders, pollinator-friendly wildflower patches, mulches that nurtured the soil. As word of mouth spread through the suburbs, excitement thrummed through my veins. Green Haven was more than a business, it was a calling. Then she arrived, Karen Mitchell. A walking manifesto of midlife authority, white SUV, matching tote bag, immaculately manicured nails, her clipboard like a scepter. She pulled up to my first work site with that saccharine, "I'm being helpful" tone. Yet every compliment dripped with subtle menace. Then came her warnings, "I'm just here to remind you HOA mandates shade of green, height of plants, storage of equipment." I smiled politely and scribbled notes. Later when I reviewed the HOA bylaws, guess what? None of those rules existed. It felt like she was redefining reality. But I couldn't prove it, yet. Soon she was omnipresent. "Staff packing up mulch?" She appeared. Measuring tape in hand, glaring that wildflower beds breached some phantom invasive plant regulation. A garden nearly finished? She'd accused me of using non-compliant mulch colors. I caught her photographing my truck parked too far from curb, as if measuring down to the inch. She moved equipment glibly, insinuating I threatened the neighborhood's look. One afternoon, I watched her corner a gentle elderly veteran, waving at neighbors with pride in his flag. She berated the flag's colors as wrong. The wrong red tone. She fined him hundreds. On another occasion, she fined a single mother because her kids' chalk drawings on the driveway violated community aesthetics. She reveled in the fear, the tears. She seemed to feed on anxiety as if it gave her life. Meanwhile, I began losing clients. She whispered, "Unlicensed, chemical using, dangerous." She emailed homeowners directly, warning, "Don't let Green Haven near your children or pets." It was poison. I bore witness as 2 sizable contracts vanished. One sweet couple canceled their monarch butterfly garden. She'd convinced them native plants would spread and take over. My reputation splintered, my bank account dwindled. Still, I hesitated to fight. The imbalance, me, a single landscaper fighting the mighty HOA president, felt unfair. Friends urged me to settle. Let it go. Pay a little, move on. But something inside me snapped. Their accusations weren't just false, they were precise perversions of fact. I realized, this wasn't about yards. It was personal. It was malicious. So I hired a lawyer, one who specialized in defamation and HOA disputes. Within days, we began dissecting her lawsuit like a crime scene. I still remember the day she served papers. I was kneeling in front of a swath of drought-resistant garden for the Hendersons, wild grasses intertwined with lavender and seashore daisies when she marched in, envelope in hand, her board-backed entourage looming behind. "You're being sued," she hissed, voice trembling with perverse enjoyment. Her claim: I destroyed common area landscaping worth $15,000, used unauthorized chemicals that killed protected trees valued at $20,000, and caused flooding to the clubhouse, another $30,000. The lawsuit was polished. Official-looking photographs, grainy but full of context, cost estimates tied with little copper wire, and witness statements by name, each painting me as an environmental terrorist. My mouth went dry. The numbers meant ruin. The seriousness bullied me. But I forced my eyes back to my lawyer. He nodded. Over the next weeks we collected the evidence. First, the photos. Timestamps showed they were taken weeks before I'd stepped foot on the job site. Still, she claimed they depicted my handiwork. It was fraudulent. Next, the so-called expert chemical analysis. Turned out the lab she cited had been closed more than a year. They had no record of testing soil from our neighborhood. Then came the witnesses. For names. We tracked down each one. None had met her, her board, or even heard of the lawsuit. The addresses were vacant lots or commercial properties. They didn't exist. My lawyer sat me down, steepling his fingers. This isn't just a civil matter anymore. This is perjury. She knowingly submitted falsified evidence. That's a felony, potentially 5 years in jail, fines up to $25,000. We can turn the tables. We filed a countersuit for defamation for malicious prosecution and alerted the district attorney about the fraudulent evidence and perjury. Suddenly the tide turned. At the next HOA meeting, her confidence was shaky. Her smiles forced. She avoided my gaze. It was small revenge but sweet. She hired high-powered defense attorneys, those who bill by the minute. She phoned her fellow board members, backpedaling, begging. It wasn't going well. The court ordered a full digital forensics investigation. Analysts verified our suspicions. The photos were doctored. The lab never had her samples. Witness names were arbitrarily generated. The evidence was a house of cards. The final hearing drew a packed room. Journalists, neighbors, cameras, everyone watched. I sat in the back, heart hammering. Karen walked in, gliding to her seat in the front, her posture rigid, her suit crisp. She cast a glance my way, one last attempt to wield dominance. But the judge wasn't placated. He pored over the forensic report. For each fraudulent photo, each non-existent lab result, each ghost witness, he named her transgressions. Courtroom air crackled with tension. The moment of truth, he asked her point blank, "Do you understand what perjury is? False evidence submitted knowingly? That's a felony. Up to 5 years in prison, $25,000 in fines." Time slowed. She swallowed hard, pale as fresh linen. She stuttered, I didn't." Officers rose. The bailiff remained poised. The judge's gavel came down. "I issue a warrant for your arrest." Cameras thundered. For her entire reign she'd never been unprepared. But this time, handcuffs echoed against granite. She shouted she was misunderstood. She was protecting the community. But community meant rules, true rules enforced with decency. Not war crimes against landscapers. As officers led her away, they guided her head down. Flashbulbs burst. Mouths fell open. Some neighbors mumbled, "Is that her?" Others shook their heads with relief. And in that moment all I felt was clarity, a deep, resonating sense of justice. The same justice that 6 months earlier felt light years away. Karen Mitchell, the HOA tyrant, ended her saga not by taste-making standards or dress codes, but by facing the reality that power doesn't protect lies when truth is stronger. She went from unleashing petty memos to facing the full weight of the law. They'll probably offer her a plea deal. She might serve community service or probation. Maybe she'll pay fines. 5 years is the ceiling. But for us, her victims, the victory matters less as punishment and more for principle. Willowbrook Estates is quieter now. Gardens are vibrant again. People smile when they see me. Kids draw chalk art by themselves. Flags wave without fear. The HOA? They're rebuilding trust, slowing down, reminding themselves why they were formed in the first place. Community, care, not fear, control. And me? I'm back to what I do best. The scent of fresh earth under my nails, the hum of bees in the lavender, the soft chorus of neighborhood appreciation. I rebuild, not just gardens but faith. And while this chapter closes with one powerful woman's fall, it opens for countless others to stand taller, breathe easier, and remember, real strength is rooted in truth. That's how an unfair lawsuit, a vicious power trip, and a criminal charge ended not with fear, but with a reclaimed dream. And sometimes that's all anyone needs to remind us. The roots of justice, once planted, grow stronger than the tallest pretender ever could.